Trish and Rob McGregor welcome you to a place where all kinds of phenomena flourish. Here we meet authors, researchers, and investigators of the mysterious, the strange, and of the inexplicable anomalies that surround us. Step out of the everyday world and take a journey into the mystical underground.
Welcome to the Mystical Underground. Thank you for joining us. This is Trish McGregor and
Rob McGregor.
And our producer and tech magician, John Posey. You can go to themysticalunderground.com where we make regular blog posts and where you can find out about our books. Among them are 7 Secrets of Synchronicity, Sensing the Future, The Secrets of Spirit Communication, and Aliens in the Backyard. Our newest book is Mind-Blowing Synchronicities, the latest science, stories, and research. Trish's newest novel, Silent Thunder, will be published in January, and Rob's most recent novel is called Tulpas, a story of mysterious beings created through deep meditation. If you're watching us on YouTube, we would appreciate it if you would take a second to click the like, subscribe, and notification buttons so you never miss an episode. If you prefer to listen to the show, it's available wherever you listen to podcasts. Please subscribe there.
Okay, our guest today is Charlie Hall, who is a paranormal writer and researcher, horror writer, and short filmmaker, as well as a medium and musician. She's a brand ambassador of Haunted Magazine and has had many features published in the paranormal and horror worlds. Originally from Northern Ireland, she has investigated numerous haunted locations around the UK, and interestingly, her father is Clive Culbertson, a former bass member for Van Morrison, and he is founder of the Ulster Druid Order. Charlie is also involved in 2 filmmaking projects, the remake of a classic vampire film, and also a new paranormal TV show called Haunt Me If You Can. Hello, Charlie.
Now I understand all the stuff on your wall.
Yeah, we
should have had you.
We should have had you here for Halloween.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you so much for inviting me on. I'm really glad to be chatting to you both, and looking forward to it.
Is Haunted Magazine a UK publication?
Yeah, it was started over here in the UK, but it is now international. You can get it over in the States and in Australia.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it sounds like something I'd love to read. So
yeah,
to look for it.
Can you tell us a bit about your background and your upbringing, how you got involved in this field of endeavor?
Yeah, I mean, since I was a really, really young age, I've always sensed something different. You know, I know it sounds really cliche, but I always did hear, see, and feel things that other people couldn't. And I mean, when I was really tiny, my mum would tell me stories of, when I used to sort of talk to spirits or talk to things that weren't there. And I mean, my mum, she's a medium as well. We sometimes go on platform together. And as you said, my dad's a druid. I didn't meet him till I was sort of 18, but my mum always tells me a story of when I was 3 or 4 years old, because she always tells everybody, oh, she was a spooky child. And when she said when I was about 3 or 4, she said her and my stepdad sort of heard me uncontrollably laughing in the other room. And I was sort of thinking, what else is going on? And they went into the room, and she said all they could say or describe it as was I was on the floor rolling around like this, and there's no one in the room. So she said, well, we asked you, what were you doing? And apparently I said, it's the man, mummy. The man's tickling me. And of course, there's nobody there. And she said that, they were horrified. But when they sort of asked me about, the man and what he looked like, and now my mum believes that the man that I described was possibly her father, who passed away when she was 13. Oh. So I've always kind of, had that around me from a very, very young age. Things, even in our early house in Northern Ireland, things used to move in the room. And I remember thinking it was so strange, because my mum would be like, why have you moved that? Why have you put that? But I knew I hadn't moved anything. And it was, there's just always, a lot happening around me that was unexplainable.
Wow. So you're the person who used to walk into a room and everybody freak out. Uh-oh.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Because I would just, I tell people all these stories of things, and, because we'd be out somewhere. Like I remember one time as a child, I don't get it so much now. but they took me to a friend's house that I hadn't been to before. It was like a new friend. And all of a sudden I knew what was going to happen next. And I sort of looked, and I'm looking around, and I said, oh, there's going to be a blossom tree over there when we turn the car. And I said, a girl's going to come out from around the tree. My mum was like looking in the back of the car, what are you on about, kind of thing. And then the next minute it happened. There was a blossom tree. A girl came from around the tree. And so it was quite hard, when I was younger, because I didn't know what this was and what was happening, when I was very young, because nobody else seemed to have it. And even though my mum, I said, is a medium, but she kind of suppressed it and didn't start using it only until, recent years, really. She kind of sort of kept it to herself, kept it quiet. But I used to read, because she used to have do you remember the old unexplained books?
Yes.
All the stuff about these pictures of ghosts in cathedrals and, about aliens and this and that. And I was like, wow, what's this? I want to see some of this. And then I obviously started seeing a lot of it myself anyway.
Now,
So
have you had any experiences with ETs?
I've had a couple of sort of experiences that I would call sort of alienistic, that kind of thing. One being a few years ago, actually. Well, I don't know if it was sort of alienistic or something dimensional. I was meditating one day, and when I meditate, which I use within my mediumship as well, with my eyes shut, I can still sometimes see in the room and see what's happening, because obviously I'm looking through, my third eye. And there was one occurrence, I was sitting in this, the only way I can describe it, it was like a being that was almost see-through. It was kind of like I could see the whole outline of it, and it was tall, and it had no particular facial features. And I remember, because I said I was, in the meditation with my eyes shut, I actually opened my eyes to look and see, hang on, is this my imagination? And it literally came from the kitchen, walked through to the lounge, very tall, and I just kind of sat. I didn't feel afraid in any way, and it was almost had sort of slight bits of color, but see-through, like crystal. I know it sounds absolutely bizarre, and I don't know what it was. And it leant down to me, and it put its sort of hand out, and I put my hand up, and it touched my hand, and it just felt really surreal. And I don't know what that was. And then literally it turned around and walked and disappeared. And that was in this, this part where I am now. Other
What
than
did
that, I
the
think,
hand touch feel like? Did it feel real?
yeah, it was strange. It was as though something was put like on my hand or placed on my hand. I don't know what it was. And it kind of like, it sort of felt warm and cold. It was really strange to describe. And I don't know what it was. Almost looked as though it was some kind of a crystal or a stone, but there was, nothing actually physically there that I'm aware of afterwards. But yeah, it was so surreal, because I'd actually come out of the meditation, opened my eyes, still saw it, and then it was just gone. Craft-wise, I've only really seen, I remember one time when I was a little girl, I saw something very peculiar in the sky above our old house. And it was, the very typical sort of, what is it they call it, the sort of overly tic-tacky type shape in grey, and it was moving quite slow. And I ran upstairs because I was like, what the heck is that? It's not an aeroplane. It's not, and I went upstairs to get a camera. And by the time I sort of ran down, I didn't actually capture it on the camera. And lights I've seen before in a cemetery, actually, a few years, actually earlier this year, beg your pardon, with my friend. I know there's so much in the sky now, isn't there? There's satellites, there's debris, there's all sorts of things. But even my friend, there was this light, and the speed that it shot across the sky, and it wasn't a shooting, well, from what we understand, it wasn't a shooting star. And it was so bright, and it zoomed across sky in, the graveyard so quick that we couldn't even photograph. And even my friend was like, that wasn't a satellite, that wasn't a star. And we sat there for ages, kind of, because we were walking through the cemetery, just talking about it, like, what on earth could it be? So,
So you grew up in Northern Ireland. Where are you living now?
I'm in London.
Okay.
And in London. I mean, I've been here a long, long time. I was born in Northern Ireland, and then I came over here, and I go back every year, though, a couple of times a year, because my dad's there and my siblings. So, and we visit a lot of stone circles and do rituals in stone circles. Obviously, Dad being the founder of the Ulster Druid Order. So,
Now, you know a lot about Druids from him. Have you?
Yeah, I mean, I know funny enough, I started to do the initiation myself when I was younger. And then I think just at that time in my life, I had my music career, I was going to America, and I kind of didn't complete it. But with Dad, I mean, it's a beautiful way to be, like the Druidism, because it's very, they're very at one with the earth. When we do the Druidic rituals, Dad will sort of chant to the sky god, to the sun, to the four corners, and it's lovely. Like the energy you build with it as well, especially if you are in a stone circle. I mean, we've been to quite a few, and one of my favorite ones is a place called Baigmore, which is in it's like a 7 stone circle complex, and the energy there is absolutely phenomenal. It's it's in the middle of nowhere, so it's great. There's no sort of noise pollution or anything. There's no light. And there's just something about the actual earth there, because I feel a lot energetically from people and trees and the earth. I've always been very sensitive, with energies and my emotions. I'm a real empath. And when we went to that circle complex, I kept seeing, spirit energies darted about. And when we walk through the first part of the complex, like there's a couple of circles over to your right, there's loads more over to the left. And I saw a lady stand like in a dress and a shawl, and she kind of looked at me and she didn't say anything. And then I actually, with my actual ears, started to hear children laughing. And as I sort of looked over, there was no one there. It was me and Dad in the middle of this complex, in the middle of nowhere. And I said to Dad, I'm hearing kids laughing. What on earth? And over to the right, there's a stone circle that I'm not familiar with, because it was filled with loads of stones. Like you can't actually walk into it. And it's known as the Dragon's Teeth. And I believe there's 1,800 stones, filled this whole thing.
Jeez.
And again, I kept hearing the kids over there, and I thought, and then I saw 3 children. I then saw them running along. And funny enough, when I investigated this afterwards, about years ago, they did find, sort of bones and remains and stuff of children, because it must have been a burial complex at some point, for ritual and ceremonial purpose. And I was like, okay. So that's why I've seen the children over there. And it's
That
actually,
is
they
interesting.
found it there years ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did your dad also hear the laughter?
Pardon?
Did your dad also hear the laughter?
No, he didn't actually. Sometimes though, when we go to places, we do pick up on the same things. Maybe that's because I'm, very close to my mum and my dad. Sometimes we do link into the same things. I mean, I've been in old, heritage mansions before, and me and my dad are both like, did you see him yet? I saw him, and we see a spirit
That's
standing
pretty
in a
cool,
room
though.
together. Yeah.
That's a cool thing to share.
Yeah. So when you were a
Yeah.
child, what kind of experiences did you have with other children? I mean, were they open to what was happening to you? I mean, would you make comments about them that might be
Freak them out.
Yeah, freak them out. Did they ostracize you or get along with you, or how was your childhood?
I mean, it was, I mean, my childhood, I know it sounds so, I did feel kind of different because I could see and hear these things. To be honest, I didn't really outwardly, until I got to my teens,
Okay.
say anything about it to the other kids or any friends, because I just knew they'd think I was crazy,
Right.
And so I kind of didn't, but I was very, very, I said, sensitive, very expressive. I did music. I always had to be doing creative things. So I guess sometimes, kids kind of thought, she's a bit strange. She's the one that kind of does her own thing.
Yeah.
She's sort of, because I didn't want to say too much about sort of, what was going on. And I mean, occasionally, like there was one time, for instance, in my teens when I had a sleepover and a friend stayed, and
Oh, boy.
yeah, and I kept
That must have
seeing,
been. I wish I'd been there.
yeah, like I would say, did you see that? And my friend's like, what? And I said, well, did you see it? And I remember there was something very strange where the shadow of the curtains on the wall was moving, and I could see something going past it, but the actual curtains weren't moving. And I said to my friend, are you seeing that? She was like, no. She was like, what are you seeing? And, so I sort of, when I realized my friends were probably thinking, cool, I kind of stopped saying them and sort of things. But even in our house that we lived in, when I'd moved to London, moved over here, the house we were in was very strange. Would I say haunted? Possibly, because other people saw things in there as well. Like I used to always see in my bedroom an old lady and an old man, and I used to tell my mum, I'd be like, "There's an old lady in my room. There's a man there," and they'd stand by the bookcase by my window,
Huh.
and things like one other night I was laying on the floor in one of the other rooms. I was just kind of chilling out, listening to music, and I tried to get up off the floor, and it was awful. It was like my head was being held to the floor.
Ooh.
And I literally was stuck going, oh my God, I'm kind of, panic, really panicked. And eventually when I managed to get up, I ran down the stairs in a real flap, to my mum, like, oh my God, I was just pinned down on the floor and there's no one there. And then I thought it was just me, but then other people started experiencing things in there as well. Like there's a light that was a sensor that we had in the hallway that only comes on when there's a trigger motion. And it would start coming on and off at night when there's nothing there, nobody in the hallway, nobody by the doors. And then I think one night when my aunt, I had some family staying from Ireland, and they were downstairs, and my aunt said in the middle of the night, she went, "Look, who was that come down the stairs in the white nightie?" And we were like, "What?" And she went, "There was a lady float down the stairs and I didn't know what to do," kind of thing. And nobody had come down the stairs. There was nobody there. So maybe we were just in a haunted house, and it wasn't just me.
Oh, interesting.
Were you ever
Yeah.
were you ever involved in a group that did research on haunted houses, or did you just do it independently yourself? Or
Yeah. I mean, I started doing it independently. I'd go to places just to do like a mediumistic sweep, because I like to just go to see how I feel, what I pick up on, what I can see. Me and my mum started going to a lot of places and linking in together, and it was just more sort of friends and like-minded people that were into
Right.
the same thing. Like now, I do have a group of regular people that we all go out to investigate, and we started sort of before I would just do the investigating sort of naturally just by my own senses. I do sometimes take out some paranormal equipment now as well, just to test things with as well. So we do a bit of ghost hunting as well, if that's what you want to call it. But yeah, generally I prefer to go with my own senses and feelings first,
Right.
and then if we go and actually use any of the ghost hunted equipment, it can be quite interesting, especially when you get voices through the spirit boxes, that kind of thing. I mean, there's a lot with that is so kind of surreal that you can't say it's not real, if you know what I mean. That's so of it. I'm a bit dubious with some of the phone apps, if I'm honest, but yeah, I always keep an open mind.
Yeah.
That's
So
a
with
Ouija
the
board, isn't it? Right
Sorry?
behind you. Is that a Ouija board behind you?
looks like it, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's my new cushion, my Ouija cushion. I absolutely love
Oh,
it's a
Ouija
cushion,
cushion.
nice.
That's cool.
it. Yeah. My actual board is down over there. Yeah.
A Ouija cushion.
Yeah.
You're the only person I've ever known who owned a Ouija cushion. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So England has such a history of for centuries and centuries. I would
Yeah.
think that there would be lots of places that would be open, or that would be available, or would have hauntings. Maybe much more than in the United States, possibly.
Yeah, I mean, there's many places here that are, said to be haunted. I mean, I personally believe that everything just is. Like, I believe that all of, if you want to call it time, so past, present, future, everything that ever has been, ever will be, just is. And I feel, as a medium and a sensitive, that we are able to tap into certain points of time. So therefore, I know, people say, oh, this house is haunted, or that building's haunted, or I actually think it's all around us all the time. Whether it's night, day, whichever building you're in. But some places, there is a lot more activity than others. Absolutely.
What do you think as a medium happens when you die? I've asked so many mediums this, and I get so many different answers.
Yeah. Do you know, I've got ideas and thoughts of what I think. I do think that when, like I was just saying about, the energy I do believe everything is energy and everything is connected. And like, for instance, when I go to certain places, I can see other parts of time happening at the same time. So I'll be in my present now, my physical body, but I can see other times playing out. And I think that's the energy. So possibly, when we do leave the physical body, or we go on to the, the next plane, or wherever, or whatever that is, I think our essence goes back into that energy field.
Huh.
I think it goes back into that field, and then somehow, or at some time, it may possibly come back here again. I'm not too sure, but that's the fun of the exploration, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's all these theories and all these possibilities. It's just so exciting. And that's why I love, doing this work so much, because you find out so many different things all the time. And my belief system has very much changed from when I first started, properly doing this on stage, giving messages. And had you have asked me 10 years ago, am I talking to, if you want to say, sort of, past people or dead people in the actual definition of a medium, I would have said, yep, absolutely, 1,000,000%. But now, since all the research and the experiments and everything I've done, and all of, the work because I've been tapping a lot into the, more quantum work and synchronicities, and that has changed. And so I do still believe that, but in a different way, if that makes sense. So I believe it is more an energetical field connection rather than it's actually somebody that's passed. So I do still believe it, but just differently, if
And real quick, just to kind of circle back around to London and just the UK and Europe in general. The couple of times I've been over there, and in the US, if a building's 75, if a building's like 75, 100 years old, that's ancient over here. And going over there and just like going in Paris, going to Notre Dame, in England, have been into, I can't think of the name of the cathedral there in London off the top of my head, but just those.
Yeah.
What's that?
Is it St. Paul's in London?
Yeah, that's it. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And but just walking into those buildings, I'm certainly not a medium. Don't claim to have any particular sensitivity to anything or whatever, but just walking into those buildings, it's just different. You feel history just on top. It just weighs down on you. It's noticeable. It's noticeably different. It's just something about it's just a lot of history, I think,
Yeah,
a lot of energy.
definitely. And I think you've hit the nail on the head there, because I always say that, even though I say that everything just is and it all is there, like you said, certain buildings, especially if it's something that's been there for hundreds and hundreds or longer, amount of years, I do believe that energy can sit in those materials. Like you said, a very old ancient building, very ancient lands, all that past, all that buildup of energy and all those emotions that have been captured in there as well, within those walls. And I'm the same. I can walk in one building and think, I don't really feel too much in this one. And then I'll walk in the next one and I'll be like, ooh, okay. And I kind of tap into what's there and see what's happening. But yeah, I think the older the buildings are, I do myself feel more. I do still get stuff in modern buildings. But yeah, I do feel more when there's been a long history there of residual energy within those materials around you.
Have you ever been?
I had a strange experience in Edinburgh.
Mm-hmm.
I have absolutely no sense of direction. But as soon as I got to Edinburgh, I knew my way around. I thought, what the hell? This is just too weird. And it was like I had lived there before and remembered.
Yeah. And I absolutely get that as well, because you reminded me, there was a place when I was a child, when I was in Northern Ireland, and there's a castle ruin called Dunluce Castle. And like my aunts and everyone said, oh, you love that castle, you were obsessed with that place. And I was like, yeah, I don't know what it was. From a tiny age, this castle felt familiar. I'd never been there until, and then later on, family did take me there. And I remember, even as a tiny child, I sort of walked in, like, the ruin, what's there now? And I kind of started to, like you just said, Tricia, I knew where things were. Like, I knew where I was kind of walking to. I knew where I was going over to look at, this and that. And my aunt, my mum always said, that's really strange. And always, every time we went near that area or past it, I was like, oh, we need to, the castle we need to go over. I need to go there again. I need to, But isn't that strange? Like, why? I know.
Yeah, it is. It's
Yeah.
some places do stick with you, I think, from
Yes.
life to
Yeah.
life.
And the
Yeah.
and the other thing, I was in Edinburgh the same time Trish was, the same
We
week.
didn't know each other.
Yeah, we didn't know each other. We
Oh.
probably crossed paths, but you know,
Yes.
we when we talked about our experiences, we checked the time, and yeah, we're there
Same week, I think
at
it
the
was.
same time, right? Have you ever been to Stonehenge?
I have, yeah, I've been there a few times. It's a
And what do
shame
you
because you
think?
can't actually go up to it now. I know that
Yeah.
it's protected, and I have on one of the one of the solstices. I have gone actually up to the stones before, but now you have to kind of go from a distance. And my dad used to get permission each year to come over in the solstice to do his ritual and chant around the
Huh.
stones.
Right.
Mm.
Yeah.
Who do you get permission from the government?
Um, I believe he would have got it from the heritage because I
Oh,
think it's National Trust now, I think.
Okay.
Or an English heritage, sorry. Yeah, English heritage it is now. So
Huh.
this was years ago. He hasn't done it in quite a while, but they used to, I mean, on the the summer solstice, they do open it up to the pub and allow druids and pagans and people in to spend the night there.
oh, to spend the night. That's
Yeah, like
interesting.
thousands of people go there. You
Where
can't
do they
move.
sleep?
at all.
Yeah.
Sleeping bags and tents, or
Yeah. I guess most of them stay up all night and dance, and there's music and they do rituals, and yeah.
that's pretty cool.
Mm.
Interesting. So you're getting involved in a new paranormal TV show. Can you tell us about that? What you'll be doing?
Yeah, so I recently worked with a like a horror film director called Dean Sharp. He's from Dean of the Dead, and we did I wrote about a film project he'd just done, and he approached me recently and said, hey, I'm doing this really cool show, and I want to do a paranormal show, and we'd really like a medium to be on the show. Are you
Wow,
in? And
that's
it's like,
great.
yes, definitely. And it's with, I don't know if have you seen over there a program called The Mighty Boosh on the BBC?
I don't think so.
No, what's it called?
The Mighty Boosh. It's like a really cult classic comedy show, and there's a wonderful guy on there called Mike Fielding as one of the actors, and he's on the show with us as well. And a really cool explorer called Titchy Tiff, who's like a horror film actress, etc. And yeah, we're starting filming in January, so really excited. We're getting everything prepared now, just to go out and hit the road.
What will you
episode
do?
1.
I mean, what will be the context of the show?
Yeah, I mean, I can't give too much away. I'm
Yeah,
not
I
able
know.
to say too much, but we will be going out and basically trying to convince the main guy, which is Dean of the Dead, that the paranormal does exist, and that there is something unexplained there. Because even though he loves it, but he is a skeptic, so we're proving to him that there is existence of something else out there.
Oh, that's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Do we get the BBC? I don't.
Yeah. We can. We can certainly tune into it online.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yes, good fun show. Mhm.
So when you become move into your mediumistic mode, do you have any procedures you go to? Is it just instant, or do you meditate, or how does that work for you to tuning in?
Yeah, I used to meditate religiously beforehand. I used to make sure that before I, went on platforms to give messages, that I would at least meditate for an hour. But then I think that was more of, when I was younger, a confidence thing for me, feeling I had to tune in and I had to kind of, because you feel pressured. And I eventually realized that I don't always have to do that. I mean, I do meditate regularly just because I find for me it does shift my consciousness into a slightly different space. So it kind of enhances things for me, but I don't need to do it for an hour,
Right.
Sometimes especially because I haven't actually been on platform this past year because I've just been so busy with the writing and filming, but before I would actually have spirit energies turning up when I was at work, ready for me to give a reading that night. So I remember like one time in particular, my normal work, and there was this lady around me all afternoon, the spirit energy. And I was sort of thinking, okay, not now, come back to London, I'm going to give the reading. And it went on for hours. And even when I got back home, she was still with me. And I thought, okay, this got to be for someone tonight. Anyway, so I got to the the spiritualist center and gave the message, and yeah, she was actually a lady that was for a gentleman at the back of the church, and she'd sort of come earlier in the day. It's strange. So sometimes without me even trying, I just get an early connection, or I tap into something, or it's weird actually, because I get quite frustrated. Like, I can meet someone one time and I'll know loads and I'll see loads and I'll hear loads, and I'm like, oh, I can tap it, but then I meet someone another time, and I don't know whether it's just compatibility of energy, but then you meet someone else and you don't get very much, and then I get frustrated that I'm not giving as much information as I'd like, you know what I mean, or as much of a message. But it's weird how that works. But like with me and my mum, we can both tune in together and see the same energies, but because we both connect in different ways, we can give different bits of information. But I find that really interesting. Like, I'll go for a little while and not really have much of a connection in my daily life, and then like one day a couple of years ago, I was in a coffee shop with my one of my relatives, and she brought a friend along, and of course, I wasn't tuning in at all. It was just a family coffee, and this dog, a spirit dog, ran under the table. So I've kind of gone, oh, and they're all like, what are you doing? And I said, oh, okay, trying not to let on. But the dog ran under the table, and then the next minute I saw a lady standing behind my family member's friend in the coffee shop, and I'm sort of looking, and I'm trying to ignore it because I thought it's not the time or the place, it's just happening. But then my mum, and she went, you're sensing something, aren't you? And I went, and luckily my family member's friend was quite open to this kind of thing, and she sort of went, what you doing that medium stuff? And I said, and I told her, and the funny thing was, I said, I described the lady, and I don't know if you've got over there used to be a program called like Darling Buds of May with Mar Larkin, and she looked like her, and I described the lady, and I said, it's your grandma, right? And she went, yeah. And I said, there's a dog, and I described the dog, and I said, and the dog's called, and we both went, her and me, Polly. And she was like, oh my gosh, you know the dog's name. And she said, that was her pride and joy, the dog. So that's what I mean. It's kind of strange. Some days I don't get it, and then other days it will be, super strong, and it will happen when I don't plan for it to happen. But luckily, it's nice.
Fortunate your mother was like this too, because that allowed you to develop your own abilities. I think that's great.
Yeah. Well, she kind of, when I was younger, Mum kind of kept it to herself. She didn't really. It was only sort of maybe only in the past 10 years, she started working more with me, and we started doing more bits, and realizing that we could see and sense the same things. I didn't meet my dad either till I was 18, till I was a teenager. So it must have just sort of been in my blood. It must have just been part of me, because both of them I didn't know my dad, and then obviously my mum didn't really do it till later, but it was already there within me as well, So it was nice when I was able, because I find that that's really given me a strong bond, with my mum and now my dad, since I met him as well. And it was nice because I wasn't really familiar with the Druid work at all. I mean, I used to do sort of, some magic rituals and things myself when I was younger, but learning all about that and all the things cool. My dad did ritualistically was great fun. I was like, wow, my dad's a Druid, and he used to be in Van Norrison, and he's like, I was like, yeah.
Now, what month are you born in?
February.
You're Aquarius or Pisces?
Aquarius, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, did you ever get a chance to see your father play with Van Morrison?
No, unfortunately not. It was years ago, years and years ago.
Okay.
I think it was sort of in the 80s.
Okay.
Something like that. And of course, I hadn't met him. I've seen him with other bands that he's been in since. And I've recorded some of my stuff at his studio, because he's now a producer. He produces music as well as doing his mystical work as well. So,
so he lives in Ireland also.
Yes, he's in Ireland. Yeah.
So your musical ability may have been related coming from him to some extent, do you think?
Yeah, because again, with music, I mean, I started singing in choirs. I love to sing. I would sing everywhere and in everything I did. And I used to write poetry when I was young, and I used to dance. That's why I was so sort of creative and expressive. And when I started playing guitar. I just felt really drawn to the guitar when I was maybe about 11 or 12. And then I joined my first rock band when I was 14. I was so chuffed, and at that time, there weren't that many females in rock bands. It was kind of just the odd girl here and there. And then I actually joined a girl rock group in my later teens, and we got signed to a subsidiary of Sony.
Oh, wow.
Wow. What was the name of it?
They were called the Suffragettes with JETS. Yeah. And so we actually ended up coming over to America. So when I met my real dad, then I joined that band. He was like, "Oh, my daughter's doing music like me." He was really excited. And I said, "Yeah, I sing, I play bass, I play drums." And so he was quite nice. But no, I loved it because we came over to America and we were in Los Angeles. We recorded there, and then we went to Vegas. What a cool place that is.
We were just there recently.
We were just there for a wedding.
Oh, really? It's so, because we did the drive through from LA to Vegas.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, and of course, obviously, we were young, teenage girls. This was like, we're like, wow, we're in America, pinch ourselves, we can't believe it. And glass, we're like in the films. We're driving through the desert, or being driven through the desert, and of course, there was no cars. We're like, my goodness, we've seen 3 cars in like several hours. We're like, and there was a ghost town on the way, and we're like, oh, this is so cool. And then, of course, all of a sudden the lights, it just lit up, and we're like, oh, in Vegas. Yeah, I loved it. I really want to get back out there next year, actually.
Have you heard of a town called Casadega?
No.
It's north of Orlando. It's a spiritualist community. And I mean, for me, everybody there talks to the dead. That's what they do. They're all mediums. And they have different degrees of what I say here, different of expertise and abilities. But it's an interesting place. Every psychic we've ever had on the show, I've always told them, go to Casadega, you'll love it.
Yeah. You do have some great places over there to visit. Like I really would love to come to the Borden House and the Winchester House. Oh, I'd love to come over to them places and experience.
I have as many as the UK or Ireland or Scotland or anything. We're younger.
Well, there's something about this sort of, the Celtic lands, because there's so much sort of history and folklore. Like folklore is such a big thing, like, within Scotland and Ireland and Wales. And there's, so many stories of magical creatures and things, as well as the spooky stuff. So I think people are sort of quite, attracted to there. And I mean, even with me, people say to me, oh, being from Ireland, do you believe in the fairies? And I've been asked that before, on podcasts. And I said, well, do you know what? I'm open to everything and anything, and I would never say something didn't exist. And even when I one time went to, there's a beautiful place called the Antrim Glens in Northern Ireland, which is known as where the fairies live. And, I'll be honest, I went there in the hope that I would see the fairies. And it was so beautiful that I burst into tears. Like, if you ever get to go there and just feel the land, it's just waterfalls and the lushest green land you've ever seen. And
is it open? I mean, it's open to the public?
Yeah, to the public. And just feeling the energy of the land. I was just, sort of super sensitive, kind of walking around like, oh, I could stay here forever. It was giving recharged, like being recharged with the batteries of my land kind of thing. And I mean, unfortunately, I didn't see a fairy, but I still hope I'll see one at some point.
So earlier you were talking about how sometimes your mediumship just comes on its own without you even focusing on it, and like where a spirit person comes through as you described. Synchronicity is that way too. I mean, you don't think about, okay, I'm going to have a synchronicity. It just happens, I mean. How about you? Have you had a synchronicity played a role in your life at all?
Yeah. Do you know, in my sort of later life, synchronicity has paved the way for me, if I'm honest. And, I know you guys have done a lot of work with that as well. And I started, was it 2014, I think, is when it all really, I started to get it, and it was constant. I started seeing number ones constantly and 1 patterns. And of course, I'd never read up on any of this. This was all new to me. And I sort of thought, why is this happening? And it was on everything. It was on receipts, it was on clocks, it was on things I looked at. And I'm like, why am I keeping, I keep seeing this all the time. And then it was strange because I was going through a bit of a, challenging time in life, and I'd been quite depressed, and I kept seeing it, and something just dropped in my head about angels. And again, I'd never worked with angels. I'd never done any of that kind of work. And I thought, that's really weird. I keep sort of seeing angels and I keep seeing number ones. And so one day when I was walking to work and I was really having a hard time, and I stopped at this particular corner, and I said, because I thought this whole angel thing is, really prominent with me at the minute, and the numbers, I'm going to ask a question. And I said quietly to myself, I sort of looked up and I said, okay, I think I said Archangel Raphael, I think it was, or Archangel Michael, I can't remember off the top of my head. And I said, if there's an angel there listening to me and you can actually hear me, please give me a sign. Anyway, I walked off to work, forgot all about it. And the very next day, I was walking along the same route, got to that same point, and something was shining on the floor at that exact. And then I went, oh, hang on a minute. This is where I called upon an angel yesterday. And I kid you not, on the floor was a silver angel.
Wow.
And I actually fished it out today to find it for you.
That.
Yeah.
God.
That's the angel.
That's pretty physical evidence.
That kind of changed my world with synchronicities. And I was like, oh my God. And I picked it up and I just said, oh my goodness, someone is, or something is listening. Thank you. And from then onwards, the funny thing was I kept seeing number ones, and the whole angel thing kept sort of, coming into my life. And I personally find now that when I see certain synchronicities, I follow it. Mm-hmm. I follow it where it's going, because I know, as enough proof for me is that whenever this happens and I follow it, great things happen. Really good things in my life. And the long story short from that angel experience was I kept following the ones, and I thought, this is strange. And something said in my mind about looking at an angel course. And I thought, oh God, there's probably not such a thing, and I went online and I found there was an angel course, literally, I think it was the next month, not far from me, with somebody who at that time had trained with Doreen Virtue. And I was like, oh, okay, that's curious. So again, I kept seeing number ones. So I actually booked on that course. And the funny thing was, not going into it, but after a very bad crash that I had, I got bad PTSD, and I do have travel anxiety. I get really, really stressed with traveling. And I started to panic that I had to get a train to this angel course. And I was going through some bags from, clearing out my flat one day, and I tipped out this bag and a business card fell out. And I was like, no, this can't be real. The business card of this lady who I'd booked. I kid you, seriously, I just sat and went, no. The card that fell out on the floor was for the lady who I'd booked on this angel course. It had come out of, I'd obviously been, to some mind, body, spirit fair thing. And I'd picked up leaflets and things, not knowing what was what. And her card fell on the floor, and I couldn't believe it. I actually contacted her and I said, look, I've been following synchronicities and signs to your course. To work with angels. And I said, I'm very scared of travel. And I said, I'm really panicking, and I don't know if I can actually get on the train to your course. Anyway, she ended up being very lovely. She sent me lots of messages. She gave me, lots of help. And on the morning of the course, I was really panicking still about going there. And I said, right, universe, angels, whoever, whatever's listening, give me one more sign that I'm meant to go on this course today. And as I turned left, I had something in the microwave, and it was on 1.11. And I went, right, I got to get on this train, and I got to do this angel course. So I got the angel energy practitioner certification from them. And ever since that, basically finding that, angel and all them number ones, I can have time in my life where I won't see anything. And then all of a sudden I start getting the numbers again. And when I see them numbers, I follow every single one. I follow it all up. And, even with names, like if someone comes into my mind, I don't know if you guys probably had it as well, with all the work and research that you've done on this. I noticed that when my energy is in alignment with being in the right field, things start then happening to confirm that for me. So say if I'm thinking of someone or the name of a place or someone, and then as I'm thinking it will be said on the telly at the same time, or somebody will walk past me in the street and say the same thing on their phone, and I'll be like, oh, right, that's it. Then I need to do that, or I need to go there, and it is for me, it's a navigation system.
Yeah, it is.
Absolutely takes me in the right way.
Yeah,
And now, is that angel you found? Is that a piece of jewelry, or is it what?
Yeah, it's like I don't know if it is silver, but it is some kind of. It must have come off like a pendant
earring okay, yeah, looks like a pendant.
It's got little stones in it and some kind of silver or metal. Yeah, and I've kept it ever since, obviously, and I looked for it today to show you, because
that is a fantastic
changed my path in life.
Yeah.
With synchronicity, so I keep that as my little good luck charm.
Yeah, John.
And it's been a while since we've told the origin story of this podcast, and it seems like a pretty good place to drop it in real quick, because I had recently moved, and for some reason I decided I wanted to reread Rob's Indiana Jones novels, and I was digging through boxes and I couldn't find them, and so I thought I'd lost them, and so I went online thinking I would just get the electronic, the EPUB, get an electronic book, and couldn't find them anywhere. Found Trish's site or account on Instagram, which was Trish and Rob McGregor, and so I DM'd the account, not knowing who I was going to talk to, asking, "Hey, what's the deal? Why aren't these books available electronically?" and Trish answered, and we went back and forth, and it's not going to happen. As far as we know, they'll never be. But eventually, I said, "Have you guys ever thought about doing a podcast?" and apparently, y'all can tell the other side
about it and saying, "How do we do that?
Yeah, right.
How do we do that?"
We've been talking about it, but we really didn't have the mechanisms for doing it. The knowledge, and John you had already had done a podcast.
Had done several, but I was contacting them about Indiana Jones paperbacks or electronic books, and it just so happened that they had been having, and I was the one that brought up the podcast, but y'all had been talking about it.
Yeah, we really had.
Yeah, the funny thing about the Indiana Jones books in the digital world is that, it always bothered me that why don't they ever make these available as ebooks? And one time I asked, this was the early in the digital world, though, and they said, "Oh, it's far too expensive to make a book a digital, and that'll never happen." And then later on, when everything is digital, I asked again, and this was at a time where my books, I had finished writing them in like 1992, and they were still in print, which was great because getting royalties. And so I asked, "Why don't we get these in as digital books?" And immediately the response was they took my books out of print. So it's just like I should have kept my mouth shut. They started looking into it and said, "Oh, we still have these books in print."
Yeah, but that would make sense. So then they should put them as ebooks.
And I don't know, maybe kind of the tag on this is that just like about a year ago, I was digging through closets looking for something else, and I finally found my original copies of the Indiana Jones books. So they were here, but couldn't find them. That led to contacting Trish.
It's a good secret.
I should say that Lucasfilm had been sold to Disney, so that was in the during this time when I was asking about it, and that's I think it was Disney that took them out of print, but I went several years though and not getting any royalties, so I knew they owed me some because the books had been in print, and I kept trying to figure out who to talk to, and finally I somehow came upon an accountant who worked for Disney, and it said, "Oh my God, I'm a real big Indiana Jones fan. Let me look into this." And he did, and suddenly I had royalties coming again. Synchronicity.
I tell you, I also get it's slightly different to synchronicities. I don't know about you guys, but have you ever had it where dreams things get dropped in your dreams, and then you follow it like a synchronicity. And then I've had it several times where I've dreamt of quite big things, you know, whether it's to do with my music or whether it was to do with, you know, feature articles I was meant to do. And at first, when I got them, I was like, you know, you kind of poo-poo it sort of thing. But now, because whenever, again, like synchronicities, when I follow what's in those dreams, when I wake up, I write it down straight away. All right. And then when I follow it, all these other in my then awake physical world, the synchronicities start dropping in. And I've had some, you know, quite big things happen in my world now from following what I call night visions, dream visions as well. Funny enough, I actually, years ago, I did a solo music EP after my record deal. And that was all from a dream. I dreamt all of the tracks. I dreamt.
Wow.
Yeah. And I woke up in the morning and I was like, oh my God, quick, notepad, lyrics. Oh God, guitar chords. No. And I remember I was on the way to work one day and I was writing it and singing it. And my neighbor was like, oh, morning, hello. I was like, hi, my song here, you know. And I was literally writing it all down from the dream. And the same with articles, you know, people I've met and interviewed. It's because I woke up in the morning with a dream of how to do that. And I follow it. So I'm very, you know, much one for, you know, dreams and synchronicities to go with that and follow it.
Well, you know,
I come from that angel.
well, and you know, Paul McCartney apparently, you know, I don't know if he still does, but used to do that very thing. Would sleep with a notebook next to his bed, and that's where yesterday came from. He woke up. He had a dream about his mom, who had passed away, and woke up and grabbed the notebook and wrote the lyrics. I think first pass, you know, just straight from the dream. Yep.
Well, do you know, like last year, I was asked to write a short story to be published in a horror fiction book, and I sort of had the backbone of the idea. And you know, sometimes occasionally we do get a bit of a writer's block or a creator's block, and you kind of think, oh God, I know where it's going to go, and I can't think of the. And so sometimes even with intention now, you know, I went to bed and I said, okay, here's where I want it to go. But I need you or whoever's listening or whatever I'm tapping into to give me the rest of it by the time I wake up in the morning. And funny enough, I woke up in the morning as excited as hell as in the night with my dream, I'd been given the rest of the story. And again, I wrote it all down and it was published last year in, you know, in an anthology book called Laid to Unrest. So I was like, wow. So again, whatever it is that we're tapping into or wherever we're getting this information from, once you get into that, it does give results and it brings results. And I just think it's such a shame because I think if people could tap into this more, if people weren't sort of, you know, so distracted by their normal everyday lives, which unfortunately is just how the world is now, you know, we're all distracted by the bills and the work and the, you know, being told by the government this, that, and the other and old. And I do, you know, I think if everyone could just even a little bit tap into this more each day, you know, tap even more into their own intuition, just going on their own gut instinct, their own feeling, their own, you know, people would have a lot more positive things happen and know instinctively what to do, you know?
Yeah.
I've always thought the fiction writers can tune in precognitively on the future, you know, and you can see some of the writers out there who've done it, like Margaret Atwood. I mean, Handmaid's Tale.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah. Even who's? Never mind. I just drew a blank. But that happened to me with one of my books, and it was about a Category 5 hurricane that destroyed part of the Florida Keys, and it came out a month after Katrina happened to New Orleans. Yeah. And all of a sudden, my editor calls me. She goes, "Trish, we're getting lots of requests for radio shows. You've become the expert on hurricanes." I said, "I don't know anything about hurricanes. I'm just, you know, this is a fiction book. Don't know. Come on and talk about it." And back then, people really poo-pooed the idea that climate change was, you know, a thing that was real.
The other thing that they thought you wrote some people thought you wrote the book really fast after the hurricane and got published all of a sudden.
Right, 1 month.
You probably written it a year and a half earlier, you know, and that just happened to come out at the right time. What happens with me is when I'm writing and I come to a block, I can't figure out what to do next. what I often do is I just start asking and typing questions. How should I go with this? And I don't know who I'm asking, but then I start typing the answer, and okay, that's the way to go. It's
Yeah.
like tuning in that way.
Well, I suppose it's, like when people, like the people who channel spirit to write their books, the actual sort of spiritualist people who get they believe they get insight and answers
Right.
and that kind of thing. Again, it's like, where are they getting that from? Is it their higher self? Is it a connection to something else? Is it, I'm never really too sure exactly what it is. Because even sometimes, well, like I said, with the writing and the music and the stories, I do think, is part of it actually me connecting to my higher self? But then I suppose, what is the higher self? What is that higher energy? Is it something else out in the ether?
Right.
That's where you get into the whole quantum question.
Yes.
And
That's my
entanglement.
favorite at the minute.
Yeah, I love that too.
I love it.
Right. So what is, tell us about Haunted Magazine. You work for them and you represent them. I'm not familiar with them. Must be British.
Yeah,
Oh, she
so
said they-
yeah, it is a
go ahead.
magazine over here. And it was two guys, Paul Stevenson and Andy Saw, who just loved the paranormal, decided to start writing something, and now it's gone international. So
That's
they
great.
made this, created this magazine quite a few years ago, and it's just really, really taken off now. And I started writing for them, funny enough, during COVID. And it was really strange because, as I was saying earlier about that crash that I had and the PTSD I got, unfortunately, that left me in a real limbo in life for a long time, and I lost my mojo. And I don't know, something just happened for me, COVID actually woke me up, the lockdown. And one day I just woke up and something went, what are you doing? You haven't done anything creative. You're not doing what you need to do in life. And I just started, doing more spiritual work again, and started, writing and getting more involved in paranormal work. And I approached them at the magazine and sent my first story across. And I've been there, with them ever since. And now I'm the brand ambassador. And I get to go to some really cool places and interview, a lot of cool people. But obviously that's all through my research and my contact. And no, it's really good. And it's in America at the minute. I've sort of been working with a few people over there who have just gone in it as well. And it's become a really, really nice sort of popular magazine.
COVID was
is it
a
still
strange time.
well, is it still physical print? Or is it okay?
Yeah. So you could either get it on their website or in it's in the shops over here. I've forgotten the name of the shop in America it's in. That's really bad. I should know that. But you can get it in some of the shops over in the States as well. Yeah.
We'll put a link in the description and everything. But I was just curious if it was actually still being printed, because not many of those left anymore. But
I know all of them have gone over here. All the spiritual ones, all the paranormal ones. There's not really any left in the hard copy print now. But the printing costs are astronomical. So I can sort of understand why people are stopping to do that. But I love a book. I don't know about you guys.
Right.
I can't think of anything nicer than sitting with a book, sitting with a magazine, feeling it. So I just love it, smell it. I just love it.
Yeah. Many years ago, we used to write for Fate magazine, and that was
for Omni.
magazine too, right? And Omni had these red pages in the middle. It was a science magazine, but they were open to more mysterious mysteries of the unknown in these red sections, UFOs and paranormal. And we used to write in there. That was enjoyable. And Fate magazine.
I'm sorry, Trish, you were starting to say something. I interrupted you.
I don't remember what I was going to say.
I'm sorry.
Talk to her all day.
So do you do phone readings or Zoom readings or anything like that with clients?
No, I used to do it just so it was actually at the spiritualist centers, spiritualist churches. I used to actually be a platform medium. And to be honest, literally this past sort of year and a half, since everything got so busy with my writing, my filming, the plan was I was going to start doing, private messages as well. And then obviously the universe took me in a slightly different direction, because I do, make films with a couple of crews myself. I've do sound on short films. I'm a production assistant. I've just done a film as first assistant director. So I kind of, because I'd never really thought to go into films or filming, but as I said, Synchronicities in the universe kind of took me there last year. And so I put the mediumship on hold, for private readings. I still see in my paranormal work, the mediumship's a massive part of what I do, when I go to locations. So I use it in that way. But at some point, I will go back to, the private readings again.
Do you have any favorite haunted location that you've been to that stands out?
Yeah, one of my favorites, which is one that I've spoke about quite a bit, and funny enough, it links to the property I mentioned earlier on when Trish was saying about familiarity with that place done loose. It's called Bonamargee Friary, and it's in Ballycastle in Northern Ireland, and I literally stumbled across it by accident one day. Me and my dad, we've got this thing of where we just go on magical mystery tours. We just take to the road in Ireland and stop wherever we feel would be a nice place. And we just saw this ruin one day and we stopped. And it's like a very, very old, who used to be, a Franciscan 1500s kind of friary. And as you go in it, it has got such a strange feel about it, and I felt like I wasn't alone walking around. Well, other than my dad there, I mean someone else as well. And there's some really strange headstones in there. There's like ones from the wars. There's a headstone from someone that's was 127 years old. And then all of a sudden I sort of saw this really unusual headstone that I've never seen one like it before. And when I went and looked back at the place, because I just felt the whole time I was being followed, and I kept sort of seeing things in the corner of my eyes, and I was like, this has got a really strange feel about it. And because I wanted to know what the grave was, because there was no words on it, no markings. And I researched this place for like a long, long, long time. And the more and more I found, it was just phenomenal. It was the grave of a lady that was there who was actually a prophetess, known as Julie McQuillan. And she stayed at the friary with the monks. And then when they left, she stayed there on her own. And the understanding is that she was known as the Black Nun, whether that was because she had, a bit of a spooky moniker or what she was wearing, that kind of thing. I think they just kind of called her that. But I think it was also because of there are 7 documented prophecies that are in, when I dug a little deeper for a long time, I found out a lot of this information. And it's just wonderful because, like you were just saying about, people telling stories of future things, she was the same. Because some of her, people have tied her predictions in with happenings later, long, long time after she'd gone. Like, just an example, one of them, for instance, she had predicted that a red-haired priest would drown before mass near the friary.
Well, that's really specific.
Yeah, and then there was, from the top of my head, I should know this, I believe it was the 1940s, there was a red-haired priest called a Father James McCann. He was there's a beach not too far from the friary, and there's a place called Pan's Rocks, and he went over there to swim before mass. And what people don't realize, and it's quite hard to find, and I went one day looking for it, and I found the Pan's Rocks in the cave. There's a deadly whirlpool. There's a little whirlpool, by the side of the cave. And you've got to be very careful. Don't lean over, but you can see the whirlpool just by the cave. And unfortunately, he was swimming there and he passed away. And that's now known as Devil's Churn. So things like that. And she predicted, steamships way before there was even something in existence. And so it was just a real magical place, learning about this woman. And then all the stories. There's, stories from heritage people, from police officers, from passers-by that have all seen a nun in this grounds when it's a ruin. It's been a ruin for many, many years.
Have you written about that in Haunted Magazine, that story?
I did a big feature, And the funny thing was, that place we were saying about earlier, Done Loose, you know how I said I had such a familiarity with that? And then when I started investigating Bonamargee, again, it was like I was being drawn to it, really drawn to it. And I researched it a long time, and I did lots and lots of, research on it. And I actually went back there with my dad last year. But before I tell you that, it turns out the people that used to visit that friary back in the sort of 1600s were the people that lived in that castle. So isn't that weird? That I felt
Very interesting.
that I felt, like I knew the castle, and then I was drawn to this friary that I never knew what it was, who was
Maybe
there.
you were her in a previous life. I mean,
Well, somebody else said, "Do you think you were one of the,
yeah.
sort of, in a past life, someone to do with that castle and friary?"
Uh-huh.
I mean, obviously, I don't know, but it would be great if I was. I'd love to know it was. But when Dad and I went back there last year, just tell you something really strange that happened. We now there's a story that says, just a local legend, because everyone knows the story of all the locals of Julie McQuillan, the Black Nun. And apparently, because her gravestone, it's like it's a circle that has a hole in the middle. And what the story they've told children and told people, for a long time, is that if you circle her grave 7 times clockwise, 7 times anti-clockwise, and put your hand in the middle, that apparently she's supposed to appear. Now, obviously, out of research and out of, I wanted to try it. But what I did, obviously, because I'm not disrespectful to, any kind of spirit or cemeteries or anything, I did my little mantra just to say, just doing this out of research and mean you no harm, and we're here as, in love and light. Anyway, so I did it, and my dad is filming it. And all of a sudden, my dad looked up from the camera and he's going like this at the screen. But I thought, I'll carry on. So I'm circling around. And then as I stopped, I knelt down next to the grave. Oh my goodness, I felt just like someone go like really fast up behind me on my left-hand side. And I looked at Dad and I went, there's someone there, there's someone there. And my dad said, well, you wait till you see the camera. And I was like, oh, what did you get? What did you get? Anyway, so I said to my dad, what do you mean? What's on the camera? And he said, well, the funny thing was, he said, darling, when I looked up over the camera at you, he said, there was a ripple go across the camera. And he said, I thought somebody walked past you. And that's why I looked up. And so I was like, give me the camera. I want to see it. And I don't know what happened. Now, again, coincidence. The camera suddenly went into error mode. And I was like, what the hell? And I pushed all the button, going, oh my God. I was like, no. The memory card completely glitched. The camera stopped working. And I said, Dad, what did you do? What did you push? He was like, darling, I didn't do anything. And so we are mortified. We're in a local cafe, and I'm trying to sort the camera out. And how weird is this? All of the footage, like even the pictures I'd taken earlier in the day, it had all gone. How weird is that? I mean, okay, it could be just a camera technical glitch,
but that's not.
But it was weird that Dad told me he'd captured something, because as I said, I kept seeing him looking up at the camera at something. And yeah, we lost all the footage. And then all of a sudden, my dad came over really unwell, and we had to get him home. And I was like, this is very odd. And so I just for my own peace of mind, I did then connect and say a prayer, obviously, to, Julia and the friary, and said, we meant no harm. We're fascinated by you and your story, and we came as friends, and, just a bit of protection just in case. But that was strange, and I was just gutted that I didn't get to see the camera footage. But that's one of my favorite haunted places. Yeah.
Who's that girl on the wall behind you? She looks like kind of a spirit. The one over there.
What, the one on this side?
Well, either one. I'm looking at the girl over here on that side, but I couldn't see the one right behind you.
Oh, on the pictures, yeah.
Yeah.
They're just like they're just sort of gothic pictures. So this one is my beautiful prayer lady. She's saying a prayer like a gothic.
Right.
And then the other one is because I love Victoria Francis and Anne Stokes Gothic art.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I have their pictures up everywhere, and obviously, as you can see, I'm fascinated by masks.
Right. Yeah.
I love masks because I think I've got them like everywhere. Because I think for me, it's almost like, the different sides of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And, because when I was a child, like I said, I felt sort of very different. And sometimes people, thought I was a bit strange because of what because of the things I could do and say. And so I think it's like putting a mask on in your daily life, isn't it? You put a mask on to pretend to be someone else
And now
sometimes.
you don't
when
have to do that.
No, and now I can be
and welcome to the mystical underground, right?
Yay.
Charlie, we have this dog here, golden
I know, I
retriever
heard him.
Nigel, who just walked up to me, and he does this at the end of our podcast. He
Yeah.
knows when the podcast is over.
it means he
Come on,
can go to the park.
I gotta go to the dog park. He knows. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, this was great.
Oh, thank you so much. It's lovely talking to you all.
Now I've got to find the Haunted magazine too.
Yes.
Okay. Great
Thank you.
talking
Oh,
to
John, tell people where they can find you.
Oh,
Well, no, well, not yeah. Well, yeah, I'm not going to stop recording yet, but yeah, please do.
Oh, okay.
Please do give links and stuff. Yep.
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah. So I mean, at Haunted Magazine or Spooky Isles, I'm on there as well. Independent Horror Society, and I'm Haunted Charlie Hall on Facebook and Haunted Charlie H on. Is it X now? Twitter X, yeah.
Twitter X
We'll
is
be on
what we call
Instagram and
it. I think.
YouTube soon.
Haunted X.
Right. Okay.
Oh, this is great. Thanks so much, Charlie.
Yeah, thank you so
Good-
much.
good
It's been a
talking to you.
pleasure.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Bye now. Bye now.
Bye.
Thanks for joining the Mystical Underground. Visit www.themysticalunderground.com for the latest blog post and book info. Subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, or your favorite podcast app. Listen to the podcast at podcast.themysticalunderground.com. Follow Trish and Rob on Instagram at Trish and Rob McGregor. Follow us on Twitter at The Mystic Cast. Send email to podcast@themysticalunderground.com. And until next week, thank you for listening and stay mystical.